All right. So I want to tell your story. You have an incredible story. Let's start at the beginning. How did you grow up? What was your childhood like? Start there.
All right. I grew up in a family business. And so it was at a really young age, I started digging in-ground pools with my dad. Learned the construction industry super fast and really understood what it took to be an entrepreneur at a very young age. From there, I went to school. I got a few degrees, apparel design, merchandising, business, and art. And ultimately, that led me to one of many businesses I started. I had a screen printing business in college. I was printing a bunch of shirts for the local universities and graduated, had a pivotal moment, was pretty broke, and decided I should start a business right now. So started a women's clothing chain back in 2010, $8,000 and a smile, and basically was biking to our build-outs because I didn't have gas money, and built it organically, debt-free, to almost $25 million in sales.
And where did you grow up?
Oh, I grew up in Minneapolis.
Minneapolis. Okay. And
Yep.
and your dad, well, I'm just thinking, in-ground pools, that's a tough career. That's a tough job. And
It
then
is.
I have a young daughter now. I don't know if I would be dragging her around. That must have been interesting.
Oh, it was. But it was good because it taught me grit.
Sure.
And I grew up, we all grew up playing hockey. If you're from Minnesota and you don't play hockey, something's wrong. So it was good to be around, I think, a lot of hard work and just manual labor. And I have a lot of energy. So it was probably a good outlet. My parents probably thought, well, just put her with the shovel and get her going.
Are you going to be able to teach Zaza grit? Grit's important. She's right about grit.
I think I'm going to be. Have you ever done a day of manual labor in your life?
I'm not a really manual labor kind of person.
My dad was
because I'm not good at
builder.
it.
My uncle's
but
a
I
contractor.
wish,
So I grew up on construction sites.
I wish that my parents put me more in manual labor. I think that would have been good.
Wait, I'm going to get our daughter. I'm going to get her a shovel, and we're going to get out there.
Okay.
I had like a mini wheelbarrow. I'm not even kidding. And at first, the guys would make fun of me because it was just me and the boys. But I had to prove myself, and it was a really good learning lesson.
Absolutely.
Like, no, I belong here. Don't worry.
That stuff I think teaches you. So whenever and people get irritated with me for this sometimes, but we're working in white collar jobs now, right? Like in this company that I run now is white collar jobs. And people work very hard and I appreciate all that. But whenever people in this business or other businesses that are white collar, or my siblings or their friends or anyone complains about how hard work is, I go, look outside at that guy that's fighting the earth, pulling the weeds, digging the hole, or that girl. Like, that is hard work. It's physical, it's mental, you're up fighting the element. Like, it's a whole different kind of work. I don't think people realize how lucky they are to actually be able to sit in a career or a job where they don't have to do that kind of stuff, because it's extremely challenging.
For sure. And I am happy I had that experience because, trust me, I thank my lucky stars every single day. I'm a big believer in being grateful from where you came from and what you have. And being in construction definitely taught me that.
Well, and also the bigger thing too is it teaches you how hard it is to actually make a dollar, like what people have to do to actually make that. And a lot of time these are, low paying wage jobs. And so I think for me in my life, doing that kind of stuff when I was young, and my dad made me go off and do all that kind of stuff, was like, oh man, it's really hard to actually make, back then was like $5 or whatever.
Yeah.
It's hard. It's not easy. And now I think if people, once they understand how hard that is, they appreciate the dollar more.
For sure. And there were no child labor laws back then.
Sure.
So I'm pretty sure I'm probably owed some back wages from my parents, but whatever.
Yeah, I think everybody should go do manual labor at some point.
I should have done manual labor. I was in the restaurant business.
It's not too late for you, Lauren.
That's the same equivalent though. It is still very much hard work. You're on your feet. I bartended for a long time through college, and that is still, it teaches you valuable lessons.
Bartending does teach you how to talk to anyone.
Yes.
Anyone.
I agree.
Drunk, sober.
Talk people off a ledge.
Yeah.
All
different kinds
I think
of things.
That is true. And you did bartend for a long time, but I still want to give you a giant shovel and pickaxe and get you out there.
Okay.
It's not too late for you, Lauren.
You grew your business. You started with $8,000 and grew it into a $25 million business. That is such a headline, but I want to hear the middle part.
For sure.
You have $8,000. How did you grow it? Tangible takeaway for the audience to a $25 million business.
It was, well, I'm going to reference probably my favorite quote ever.
Please do.
It's a Mark Twain quote. And in order to succeed, you need two things, ignorance and confidence. And back when I was 24, trust me, I had both. And I was lucky because The ignorance kept me going and the confidence kept me going. And if I knew how much hard work it was going to be now looking back, I probably wouldn't have started it.
I love that quote. And my dad used to say it all the time, but I didn't attribute it to Mark Twain. I didn't realize he was the one. He has a lot of great quotes. And I think that's so true. It's why sometimes degrees or going to college for long periods of time or, constant schooling scares me because it teaches you what to be afraid of
For sure.
in some cases, right? Like, especially like if you ever meet a lawyer, like a lot of times lawyers are very cautious of taking on entrepreneurial endeavors because they know all that can go wrong, which there are things that can go wrong, obviously, but same vibe. Like for me, it's always been ignorance and confidence, not really knowing. And because I don't know, it doesn't stop me. Does that make sense?
For sure. Absolutely. I completely agree. And that's why you hire attorneys, right?
Sure.
Like tell me everything that's going to go wrong and I'll decide if I should take the leap. But yeah, so that's where it started. So we opened our doors for our grand opening party and we had dumped every single penny into inventory. We didn't pay ourselves. And that was something that, I was okay with at the time. But we saw a huge turnout. For the 4 hours we were open for our grand opening party, we sold out of every single piece of clothing in our store. So that instantly, it told us that we were onto something. Fast forward, we kept, rinse and repeat, do this at every location. And we grew organically. We grew debt-free. And so it was a much slower trajectory than I was used to because it did take 8 years and it was blood, sweat, and tears. And so hearing the facts of, 8,000 to 25 million, don't be confused. There's definitely a ton of hard work and determination that goes into those numbers.
Well, I think that's the kind of stuff people want to hear because, like, especially in some of these publications, you read a headline like that and you're like, oh my God, like this person did it. It sounds easy. But I know it wasn't. So what were some of the things that you personally were taking on in the early days?
We held every position.
Yeah.
What I didn't realize after we opened our doors is, oh shit, we have to hire people. Like people have to work retail. Like we can't be here all the time. And so we'd close on Mondays, we'd place all our orders and we were there from 7 a.m. till 10 p.m. And that was something, we did that. We held it as long as we could until, obviously our families were like, you need to slow down, you need to stop. But that was a big part of what we were pushing for.
And how old are you at this point?
24.
And are you in a relationship or single?
I was dating the father of my children.
Okay, and so no kids yet.
No. And that's a big part of when I signed the purchase agreement and I left my previous position it was Primp, the company we founded, the clothing company. I did have 3 kids. I was a single mom. And so making that leap later in life with a lot more, mouths to feed, a lot more liabilities, it's a little bit more daunting. Starting a business later in life, I think you have to have a lot more pieces put together.
When you sold your business, did you jump into something right away or did you take a beat?
Okay. Fun fact. December 14th, 2018, 10:30 a.m., I signed the purchase agreement to sell my shares of Primp. 10:35 a.m., I signed the Galleria FACE FOUNDRIÉ lease, which is our flagship.
You went right into it.
5 minutes. I was like, if I think about this too long, I won't do it.
So you had already had the idea for FACE Foundrie at this moment.
Yes. It was after my 3rd baby. My skin was going absolutely haywire. And I really wanted to find a place to go get facials where I could book outside of a 9 to 5, book on the weekends. There was just nothing approachable or accessible. And I sat on this idea for probably a year because it would be a lot easier if I could just find the concept and be a consumer, right? Instead of executing it. And finally, I knew in my gut I had to take that leap. And I was cautioned very carefully by people that love me, like, think about your kids, make sure you're making a really good decision because you're leaving a job and a company that what you're doing. You've done it for, almost 10 years. And so it was something that it was, good advice that I took to heart. But I knew 10 years from now, if I didn't do it, if I didn't execute it and didn't try it, I would terribly regret it.
And at this point, when you're such an executor, you're such an entrepreneur, what does your partner look like in this? Is he supportive? Is he trying to drag you down? I've heard a lot of stories on this podcast about women who are like yourself, who are entrepreneurs. They're confident, they're mothers, they're doing it all. And it either goes both ways from what I've seen. The partner is either uplifting and has his own trajectory or her own trajectory, or they're uncomfortable with the growth?
So when I made the leap in 2018 from Primp to FACE Foundrie, I was dating someone, and we don't have to spend much time on him because it's not worth it. But I'll never forget, it was said to me, "You will never make it without me." And that was my Michael Jordan moment. All I needed was that. Like the naysayers, like took it to heart, and I ran with it. And I wanted to prove him wrong.
Was this the energy before he said that, or was this when you heard this, were you like shocked?
No, because that was common. That was something that was just, I was dating an egomaniac. And
So
that,
when you started dating, was he supportive of you on your endeavors, or was it
oh
always
yeah.
a little bit of a rub?
Oh, constantly designer bags, flowers, trips, everything. I mean, he definitely knew how to wow people. But after a while, that started to fade. And then you'd get like the kind of snarky remarks, and then definitely held down by the fact that there was no way in his mind that I could succeed without him.
That's so interesting that you say that, because we had a narcissist expert psychologist on the podcast, and she said what they do is they love bomb you, and
Yes.
they give you all these gifts, and they tell you how great you are, and they love bomb everyone around you, and so everyone's like on board with their shtick. And then after a while, the comments start to trickle in,
For sure.
and they start to break you down. And that sounds kind of like what you're describing.
100%. And love bomb is such a great phrase because that was exactly it. Every single morning, boom, boom, boom. You're like, and it's comes off as flattery, right? Like the messages are super personal and they feel authentic at the time. And then looking back, hindsight's everything, obviously. But I look back and I'm like, oh, you had ignorance that time. You had some ignorance still left over. But
So when he said that to you, did you leave immediately, or was it like, again, a slow trickle where you had to be like, okay, this is not the right relationship to support my career?
it was a slow trickle. It was definitely a slow trickle where it felt like, this doesn't feel right. And it was the small little grains of sand that built up over time.
And was there an epiphany?
Oh, there were several. Did I listen to him? I mean, it goes back to like listening to your gut, right? Like when you know, you know. He would win me back. He'd come back and, wow me with something. And it sounds really stupid and really naive looking back, but there was finally, it was the pandemic. That was the defining moment. And I got to really see the true colors come through. And it was shocking because it was living inside a tornado.
So many people have said they like realized who their partner was during the pandemic.
Because I think like a lot of stuff was stripped down, so you were just like down to the very essence of like who people really were.
Yes.
In all sorts of areas, right?
For sure. And I'm lucky because I will say, shameless plug for Hinge, I met the best man on the planet and I'm happily engaged. And so there's a happy ending, I promise. And actually my siblings are both engaged to people they met with
On Hinge?
Yeah.
Man, what's going on Hinge?
I don't know.
Hinge.
Wow.
You should get on Hinge if we break up, honey.
No.
You go run to Hinge.
No, don't.
Have you not seen my profile on there yet?
Oh, sorry.
I want to go back a little bit because speaking of not listening to advice, when I was young, I was the most hard-headed. I still am pretty hard-headed, but when I was very young, I was very hard-headed. You almost couldn't tell me anything. And you touch on something earlier where you're saying basically you started the business when you didn't have children.
Yeah.
And because of that, you were able to maybe have a little more freedom to work a little differently. When you have kids, you really had to kind of think about taking on another business. And I think about this business, and I would just say, I don't think there's any way I could have started this business with the 2 young kids we have now, because Lauren and I were traveling everywhere. So I was driving all over. Like it would just been so chaotic for children. And the reason I mention that is I think there's so many young people that have these ideas, but they're scared to take the leap. And then later they go and start having children and life takes over. And not to say like, listen, we all have children. We're all running great businesses. But I think if there is a time, it's like, do it then before life takes over. I wonder if you have a take on that.
Your biggest asset before you have kids is time. And that is truly how we were able to build up our business is committing to time and putting in the time and energy that it took. I can't imagine. I don't think I would have the capacity. I know I wouldn't.
Like it didn't matter
right
if you
now.
left or drove somewhere at 10 p.m. and stayed up till 1 a.m. or worked 9, 10, 13 hours a day. It doesn't matter.
For sure. I can't even tell you how many times I would sleep at our warehouse or our office. It wasn't uncommon because we had to do what had to be done, but it's definitely a time commitment. And I do think that is truly probably the biggest thing that we had on our side when we were pushing and hustling and building it debt free.
Yeah, because that's the catch-22. It's like you're young and you feel you don't have the experience, but then you get older and life hits you, and then it's like, well, now you have all these other commitments.
Yeah.
And I think like the balance is can you set yourself up when you're young so that when you have children, if you want to keep working, you also have resources to help you with the children, right? Because
Sure.
if not, you just get stuck in this tornado of like, oh my God, I ran out of time and now I have too many other commitments.
And time is your resource in the beginning when you don't
Yes.
have kids, and you have to figure out how to balance that.
Yep.
I'm still figuring that out, trust me.
When your ex told you, you said you had your Michael Jordan moment. When did you start to really see the momentum of Face Foundry? Was it after that comment? Did you push really hard? I want to know what the journey with Face Foundry looked like from beginning to end.
I'm always a pusher. I'm also very hard-headed where it's just, I'll do it, I'll go, I'll make it work. I like finding, what things aren't working and fixing them. And so I've always pushed with every business. I think the comments were something that were motivating, but we knew probably 45 days in, we were cash flow positive with our first location at Face Foundry. And so you can have the best business idea in the world, but if the numbers aren't there to back it up, doesn't really make sense. And for us, I knew I was onto something just with the metrics alone. So that was really what my motivation was in the beginning. When we then hit the pandemic and we were forced to close.
Talk about that, because that's such a bummer. I mean, I can't even imagine having a brick and mortar business. My dad has a restaurant. It's just like such a drag how people had to close.
It, in hindsight, was probably the biggest blessing in disguise for us. So we opened our doors March 1st, 2019. In order to franchise your business, you should have an item 19, which showcases a year's worth of financials. So potential franchisees can feel good about going in. They know exactly what the numbers are, and it's very transparent. It's FTC regulated. I can get into all the nitty gritty. So fast forward March 1st, 2020. We're like so excited. We have a year's worth of financials. We're about to launch, and the world had other ideas. And we were forced to close. It was 3 months, and it was 3 months that we would have never, ever been able to take just a minute to formulate all of our different platforms, all of our protocols. We even went so far that, training people in the service industry, you need to be face-to-face, right? Especially with facials. We went so far as to formulate all of the protocols, both online. So if we could never touch someone's face again and train them, they would get a kit to their home, and we could make sure that they were doing it correctly on Zoom. So every single platform that we created during those 3 months ended up helping us substantially.
I know, it's so crazy to me how during the pandemic you either took it by the balls and were like, I'm going to squeeze everything I can possibly get out of this sort of break.
Yep.
Or I'm going to sit around and just scroll on Instagram.
And when the locations you were in, you only had to be shut down for 3 months. But like when we were in LA for a while, like people were done for a year.
I know. We were very fortunate. We only had 2 corporate locations. I was probably days away from signing our 3rd corporate location, the lease, and hit a real fast, hard pause and went back and renegotiated.
Did you know before you launched this that you wanted it to be a franchise?
Yes.
So you always had that in your mind?
I love the idea of franchising. I love being able to find that entrepreneurial spark in other people and really get them excited and share our mission and really motivate people that want to start a business and that want a little bit more of a blueprint.
So my question would be, if someone's listening and they have an idea and they want to start a franchise, we see Dry Bar, we see Pure Bar, these franchises that have really succeeded. What have you seen people do wrong with a franchise, one, and how can someone go about starting them if they want a really powerful, positive franchise?
For sure. Definitely get a great franchising attorney. They know the FDDs, they know the laws and rules and regulations. State by state, it's always different. And so you have to make sure that you have someone in your corner that knows all of the nitty gritty, because it's regulated so severely that you just have to have someone that knows what they're doing. A good attorney is probably the first. The second is make sure that you have a scalable business that can be replicated, because you might have the best business ever, but it might be super specific to one location. How are you going to train employees? How are you going to make sure that there's consistency across the board? And I think that's so important because franchising is all about consistency.
So if someone has an idea, say it's like a restaurant and they want to franchise the restaurant and the restaurant's already open, is it easy to just say, I want to have a franchise? If you get the attorney, like you said.
You're going to want a great attorney. You're going to want to make sure that you have trademarks in place because that's super crucial for your franchisees to feel protected. You're going to want to make sure that you have some sort of training platform. You're also going to need a space for operations training. And so we host a week-long operations training, super intense. And we fly people in from all over to help with that.
Okay, here's what I always wonder though about franchises, because I've thought about this. I'm like, what if I ever wanted to do like a Skinny Confidential franchise? How do you deal with all these outside people? Because like, how do you get to know them? Do you handpick them? Do they come
Because
to
don't
you?
they have to, it's like it has to be a replicable business that is consistent, right? So if you go to
For sure.
McDonald's, many McDonald's are franchises, right?
I know,
It's
but
just a McDonald's.
how does the owner deal with all the different kinds of personalities mixed in? This would get like, what if you get sort of a bad seed?
So it's finding that commonality. So we've hosted hundreds of discovery days where we bring in potential franchisees. They meet our entire executive team and we walk them through start to finish everything we're going to provide from a franchising standpoint. And then they go see our stores and they have to understand this is what it goes into as far as locations, how we're going to select sites, how we're going to negotiate, what the terms are. And from there, we reconvene with our executive team. We also give them a service, just so you know. So all franchisees or potential franchisees, that's that cherry on top. They get to see what it's like to come in for an actual facial. And we reconvene with our executive team and we decide, does this person meet our values? Are our mission and vision going to be aligned? And will they take on a territory that suits what we're looking for with expansion?
Do you have a plan? I just am asking this selfishly because I always try to like plan out my next 6 months, 5 years, 10 years. Do you have a plan of where you want it to go? How many franchises you want to be opened?
Yeah. I mean, we have a really strategic plan. Our team gets together quite frequently to make sure that we're still on that trajectory, but we'll have 65 new locations open by the end of next year.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a lot. So it expands quick.
Well, that's a nice thing about doing a franchise, right? Is because you can expand that quickly without having to take on the entire undertaking of the financial burden, right?
Correct.
Why I think it's so smart and why this is so interesting to me is because so many things that people do for professions require them to be there or require their time. Or like if you're a doctor or if you're a lawyer, like you have to give your time. And why this is so interesting to me is one, you're essentially making money while you sleep. But two, you have all these other people who have a vested interest in making the brand successful, and you are branding it sort of everywhere, and you have their social media platforms too. It's smart.
And you're giving somebody that's maybe just getting their feet wet in an entrepreneurial endeavor kind of a step up, right?
For sure.
Right, like where they're not having to take on the undertaking of building an entire brand and creating an entire concept from scratch, wondering if it's going to work or not.
And you guys know how much work that is, right? Can you imagine doing that every single time? It's nice to have the guidelines and the roadmap. And so we've been able to attract people that are really excited about that and then that love the branding. We do all of their marketing. We make sure that everything is consistent because if there's one takeaway from franchising, it's that consistency is key.
I love this. I think it's very, very smart. How do you balance all you have going on? You have 3 children, you have a fiance, you've got a booming business. I mean, 65 franchises in the next year is crazy. How are you balancing that? Do you have a morning routine, nighttime routine?
Oh my gosh. Yes. I get up at 4:30 every day. I get most of my work done.
4:30? Oh my God.
I'm a grandma though. I go to bed at like 8:30. So it balances out. But I get a lot of work done between 4:30 and 6 every single morning. I swear those moments of silence are just so key for me. And that's my best thinking time. But I run, I have a desk treadmill, under the desk treadmill. I look like such a nerd, but I'll be like, on a Zoom call, walking, like just trying to stay active. For me, that's a big thing is I don't want to ever be stagnant. I'm always looking for what's next? What can I do better? How can we continue to excel in certain areas? And so exercise is a big thing that I have to keep continuously doing.
Michael just started waking up at 5:30 and he's told me that he loves it. He's bragging about it. He
Well,
woke up at 5:29
No, but
the
this
other
goes
day. I had to
back.
hear about it.
I mean, we always worked. We could stay up a little later or get up, and it didn't really matter. But when you have kids, I just feel like if you want that moment of silence in that time, because as soon as they're up, it just changes. I mean, it changes things. And Lauren and I try to stay like as consistent as we were as without kids, right? We still do a lot of things, the same way, but they just change a lot of things, as you know. And so
For
I'm
sure.
like, okay, I need these moments of time when I just have silence in the house.
For sure. And when they get up, you're right. It's like it's kind of game over. I don't want to be looking at my phone or trying to type an email. It's just kind of too congested.
Yeah, and I'm like a grandpa too. I don't want to go to bed super late because they're up regardless anyway. Especially, oh my God, if I'm hungover and they don't care if I'm hungover. They're just
Oh my
jumping
gosh.
up. So I'm like, I'd rather be up and in bed early because there's really no advantage anymore to me staying up late.
No, I keep them up late sometimes. I'm like, why? Why do I do that? They get up at the exact same time. 5:00 every single day. They are up or wrestling around.
I kind of love keeping them up late. I'm not going to lie, because sometimes they'll sleep in.
Really? Mine
Yeah.
don't. I
Rarely,
wish they
Lauren.
would.
Rarely.
Sometimes Zaza slept in till 7:45 today.
Okay, that's a miracle.
I kept her up last night until about 9:30.
Yeah, but but then you lost 9:30.
I know, but sometimes I'd rather like
And
have.
last night she was out of control. So
Did she get a little like sugar high?
Yeah,
or
what
like
is going on with that?
I don't know.
they
There's
get that burst energy at the end of the night.
we call it their witching hour, or they get like the wiggles. Yes. And it's a real thing. And now with Halloween, I feel like I've had to hide their candy.
The other night, I got in bed with a huge cup of mint or ginger mint tea.
Mhm.
And I put thousands of chia seeds in it to like get things moving, like fiber.
Before bed?
Yeah, like I ate a
Yeah.
lot of protein, and I was like,
Oh,
I'm
you're
gonna.
wild, man.
No, I'm not. I'm gonna have like my chia seed tea in bed. I have this huge, the mug from the Ivy. It's like this
Yeah.
big. It's like a bowl.
Yeah.
I'm like getting ready to sip it, and Zaza comes and knocks the whole thing over. And the thing about chia seeds is they're worms. They turn into worms when they're wet, like goo. You know what I mean? Because they expand in your body. So there's fucking 6,500 chia seeds all over, stuck to the walls, in the bed, on Michael's pillow, hanging from the ceiling, in the rug. It was a nightmare. I'm just like,
You need a
oh
shot back.
my God. I needed a shot of alcohol in my chia seed ginger tea. Okay, so your skin is glowing. I mean, you obviously know skin very well to get into this business. What are some non-negotiables when it comes to your skincare routine?
I have to make sure I incorporate dermaplaning. I'm a big believer in.
You like to shave the face.
Who
I
doesn't?
can tell.
Who doesn't?
I swear to God, I can tell girls that shave their face. See how she has like a glow?
Glowing. Absolutely glowing.
Michael, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm not surprised that you dermaplane. Go ahead.
You have to. Your makeup goes on so much better. And even when you think you have a clean face and all of a sudden you dermaplane and you see your 4x4 and you realize you're a hairy gorilla. I mean, it's insane how much it helps.
I think it's why men don't have to do as much because we're shaving all the time. So you're exfoliating constantly.
For sure.
You think you heard that on my Instagram stories.
No, I know. Well, I know
Let's
it too.
be
Because I
real.
can sometimes, even if I only shave right here and I don't even go the whole thing, it like benefits the entire face.
For sure.
I swear.
That's a big
I'm
one.
kidding.
So you
Yeah.
dermaplane, exfoliation, that also exfoliates the skin.
Yep. And we have one of our enhancements is a collagen mask. And I love this enhancement. We partnered with a German doctor. He was actually creating freeze-dried collagen bandages for burn victims. And they saw such drastic results that then they turned it into face masks that we use in store. And then we actually created an aerosol collagen. And that has saved me big time. So the collagen mask and then the aerosol collagen. Every time I travel, I was in Denver last week. My face I was a prune, and that saved me.
What are other skin treatments that you like? Procedures, laser, filler, Botox. Give us the juice.
I've not had any. No, I've had them all. So I do love a good BBL for any hyperpigmentation. Like I used to have freckles.
Wait. BBL, I'm thinking Brazilian butt lift.
Oh, BBL laser.
Okay, I'm like, oh, you love BBL? You
Yeah.
gotta tell me about that.
Yeah, no,
But
that's
there's a
that's
BBL laser. Okay, go ahead.
I love that. That saved me. I had so many freckles from working outside. I mean, I was digging in ground pools, and I know I should have stayed the fuck out of the sun, but my dad didn't believe in that. So we didn't have sunscreen. We were always outside. And the BBL took off all of my freckles.
So, but when you get hot, like in a sauna or in a steam shower, does it come back or have you? No, it's gone.
No, it's gone. But
Okay.
so laser treatments, more severe ones, I love that. I get the sculpt facial probably twice a month. And that is where we go in and we have a Hungarian massage. And you don't know how much tension you hold in your face until you
sure.
actually have a lymphatic drainage and Hungarian massage and it releases. Oh my gosh, it's amazing.
That has my name written all over it. That sounds amazing.
And throughout the summer, I did a lot of cryo facials. We have a cryo queen, and that was really refreshing. It helps get all the dead skin off.
So if you were to tell someone to go in to Face Foundrie, what facial would you start with?
I would definitely start with the sculpt with a collagen mask enhancement and dermaplaning.
And how long is that?
With the enhancements of the collagen mask, it'll probably, and dermaplaning, it might be an hour, but all
That's
of
not
our,
bad.
no, all of our focused facials are 40 minutes. And so you have to keep in mind, you're going in, it's an open air concept. Like for me, when I created this, I didn't need the fluff. I didn't want to get undressed. You don't need to rub my feet while I'm here to focus on my face. And that was the whole mindset behind Face Foundrie.
Now, are people like on their phone? Are they talking to the facialist? What's the vibe in there? Tell us what it looks like, the whole vibe of it.
Super clean aesthetic. There's curtains that separate all of the beds. We have sound machines in each station. So then it helps really kind of, keep it quiet, make sure that it still feels intimate. But it's really personal. People can talk if they want to. We host face parties all the time. So bachelorette parties. We just opened in Nashville. We get a ton of bachelorette parties, birthday parties, things like that, where they can open the curtains and they can all chat if they want to. Otherwise, if they just want to keep it kind of quiet, we have like fun, chill music playing, but it's not like your traditional spa where you're listening to waterfalls and things like that. So it's whatever you make of it.
It sounds like it's efficient.
It's efficient and effective. That is our phrasing.
Yeah, and you're saving people time. It's almost like the Uber of facials, it sounds like.
Yes, because as a mother of 3, let's face it, you know this all too well. Like, honey, mommy needs a minute. Mommy needs 40 minutes for a facial. And that was the idea behind it. It's like, I don't want to take 4 hours to go to a spa and get all the fancy stuff. I need some treatments to my face within an hour.
I mean, it's quick. You just go in, you get it, and you leave, and then you feel sculpted and tight, and you can put on your makeup. You're all dermaplaned and ready to go.
Exactly.
I have a question for the audience. If someone's listening, you said you have 65 franchises opening.
Yep.
What if someone's interested in opening a franchise? What's their process look like? And are you even looking for franchise founders?
We are looking for strategic partners and strategic franchisees in specific areas. So if this is speaking to you, definitely go on our website, and it's facefoundrie.com/franchise, and you can inquire there. And if we have a territory that's open, we'll definitely make sure we get back to you. We'll get back to you regardless, I promise. But we're very responsive that way.
Entrepreneurs are listening. We have all different people who want to start a business. They don't know where to start. What are your tips for them?
Good question. First and foremost, do the research and don't be so eager to take a big leap if you haven't done the research, because I do think social media, as great as it can be, it also forces people to think that everybody's ahead of them. Everybody's doing something. I need to take this jump right now. And I would caution people to say, make sure you're doing the research. Make sure you know your demographic. Make sure you know exactly what your niche is going to be.
I mean, it takes a long time. Nothing's overnight. I think a lot of people, you're right, look at other people's social media and compare the journey. I know I've been doing the Skinny Confidential for almost 13 years. It sounds like you've started, you said like when you're 24, you're $8,000, you're starting a business. I mean, it's a long process.
For sure.
Well, I think like in a lot of ways, the world or the social media makes the world feel very big, but also very small at the same time. And it makes you feel like you're in competition with everybody sometimes when you're really not, right?
For sure.
And I think like it can be a tool to your point, but it can also be a real distraction, And it's funny, in any business I've ever run, people always ask like, hey, what is your competition doing? Or what do you think of the competition? I was like, I honestly don't really know what they're doing. I'm aware of who they are, but I don't pay attention at all because I just feel like as soon as you start doing that, it distracts you from what you should be doing yourself.
For sure. Comparison is the thief of joy.
Yeah.
Right?
You mentioned that postpartum that you had skin problems. What were those skin problems for people that are listening, and how did your skin change after pregnancy, and how did you fix that?
My skin through my first pregnancy was great. I was like, oh, this is so easy. I was pregnant with my first child. He's obviously a little boy. And I don't know if it was the testosterone in my body that was evening it out. Totally fine. By the time I got to my 2 daughters, it was mayhem. I was getting terrible hormonal outbreaks. My skin was just dry. It felt like every single molecule in me went to my baby, and I was left with just super dry, flaky skin. And to me, it felt like premature aging. And of course, everybody struggles differently with I've had acne growing up, but for me, it felt a little bit more severe. It was hormonal acne mixed with, more wrinkles, more creping. It was just random breakouts. So you name it, I had it.
Crepiness needs to be talked about more.
Oh,
That is something that I think no one talks about. Dr. Dennis Gross was just on here and he was going off about it. That's something that I feel like everyone talks about: wrinkles, fine lines, hyperpigmentation, but the crepiness.
Yes.
As we get older too, you start to see it on your hands. I even am going as far. The other day, my facialist was giving me a facial, and she goes, so many women come in here that are getting older, and she said they're all worried about their hands. We spend so much time on our face and our neck, but we're forgetting our hands. And so as she's saying this, I'm like, can you give me microcurrent on my hands? She gave me a full
I'm
facial
gonna
on
have
my
like
hands.
full dinosaur hands here.
Oh, don't even get me started. I have man hands because I work construction. Yeah.
But the hands is important too. Are you seeing other areas become popular with FACE Foundrie? I mean, the chest, the boobs, the hands. I feel like that is like where it's headed.
Yes. Neck and décolleté, absolutely. I agree. Hands, though, that's something, especially after excessive hand washing that we've just experienced for the last 2 years. But going back to crepiness, I completely agree. And I'm kind of convinced that it's from wearing eyeshadow. Like you start seeing it more and more. And I believe that it's because we're constantly putting on eyeshadow.
Don't mean to brag. I don't wear eyeshadow. Never have. Never will.
Me either.
I put concealer on my eyelids. Everyone says like, "Oh, I know you're wearing eyeshadow in this picture." No, I'm not. It's not eyeshadow. I don't
Lauren,
like eyeshadow.
this is why I never washed my hands the last 2 years.
I'm not a big hand washer.
Can
I'm
you
just
say
gonna be
that
honest.
now? No, I'm just
No,
kidding.
I think overwashing your hands is like I actually think that's a problem too. The over sanitization dries out your hands. I'm not a fan of it.
Enough time has passed now where we can look back on the last 2 years and say this might go down as the dumbest period of time in human history.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm
Right.
constantly putting alcohol on your hands. What does alcohol do? It dries you out.
I don't mean to like say this, but I am not a hand sanitizer person. Not going to do it. It's not my thing.
Yeah, don't worry. I get it.
Remember when people were sanitizing and like washing boxes outside their garage? Anyways, but I won't go down that path because people just get really irritated with me. But I will. People are going to look back in the history books and they're going to see pictures of us doing these things. And they're like, look at that period of time.
Okay, I created a hand sanitizer. I can't call it a hand sanitizer because apparently you need certification. But Sterile Cheryl, where you could spray down your boxes. For, obviously I had time during COVID.
Yeah,
and I was
listen,
mixing stuff in my bathtub. I was like, you know what? I'm going to create like a little box spray because everybody was freaked out
you're an
about that.
entrepreneur. You should have. But I'm just saying, that was wild.
Yeah, that was.
Not into the hand sanitization, and also I'm wearing driving gloves every time I drive now. I'm like really on a mission right now to bring awareness to the hands.
Okay, they need to create, and not to go on like a entrepreneurial tangent, but like create some like Skinny Confidential gloves. Like why don't we have gloves? Because that is something that like if I could just throw on a glove at night and just make my hand look, I don't know, 10 years younger. Woo.
Dot, 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 dot.
Ooh, I love it.
It's just there's not a lot of cuteness on the market out there.
No, but you can make them like so sassy and just have like funny phrases and be like,
the hands, I'm telling everyone, is what we need to be paying attention to with the face, of course,
Yep.
FACE Foundrie, and the neck and the décolleté.
décolleté. Yeah.
The boobs, the tits,
Boobs.
take it all the way down. If someone wants to reach out to you, if they want to franchise, if they want to buy product, if they want to just reach out to you as a founder,
Yeah.
where can they find you? Pimp yourself out. Tell us how to reach you, all the things.
Absolutely. Well, you could first look on the website, facefoundrie.com. Otherwise, go to our Instagram, which is just at FACE FOUNDRIÉ. If you want to chat with me personally, I'm all for hearing business ideas, feedback, whatever. And that's Michele Manifests.
I would start with, if you're going to try a product, this overnight face mask that you've been raving about. I think this sounds amazing. I'd ice roll over it. Like,
Yes.
This sounds incredible. You said it's tons of collagen. Your skin is glowing.
Thank you.
Shave your face with the Skinny Confidential razor. Put the Seal the Deal overnight face mask on, and you are good to go. I mean, this sounds incredible. I am a huge sheet mask fan, but I do not have a favorite overnight one. So this is really interesting to me.
That's reusable too. So it's a silicone. So what I do is I'll grab a sheet mask or any other mask I want to put on. You know, it could be some sort of liquid mask. And I'll even wear that while I'm typing emails. So
You'll
I wear
put the overnight mask on when you're typing emails.
Yeah. Why not?
Okay, but
Efficiency.
you can also wear this while you're sleeping, right?
Oh, for sure.
So basically, I'm going to be in bed with my gloves on and my lotion on, with my overnight face mask, with my mouth tape on, listening to 528 Hertz on my headphones.
Chia seeds all over the pillow.
Chia seeds everywhere on a silk pillowcase.
I love it. Oh, the silk pillowcase. That is a thing.
Important,
I
right?
love it.
Can we do a giveaway for some products?
Why do you have a silk pillowcase and I don't?
I don't
I'm just
know.
wondering.
No one said you couldn't get one. I was wondering that the other day.
You make the whole house uniform and then you get me the one shitty pillowcase in the house.
You're on literally the creepiest of creepiest pillowcases. Like, your skin is going to be one big fucking imprint of a crepe.
Does anyone even wash that pillowcase? What's going on?
No, it's never been washed. It's
The fuck?
disgusting. Your pillowcase is the grossest thing in the house. You got to change
Let me
that
try
shit.
your pillowcase tonight.
You're
Your
going to love
pillowcase.
it.
Yeah, I'm going to switch it up.
No, the reason I was smart and bought pink. I'm like, he doesn't want to sleep on a pink pillowcase. See what
I
you,
also think you took the good pillow too.
I took the good pillow. I have the pillowcase. Now I have the overnight face mask.
I have a piece of origami for a pillow. Like it's just like the thing's just bent and broken and thin.
Yeah.
It sucks.
Well, that's how you grew up. Your mom has only really thin pillows in her house, and I've already talked to her about it. We need a little plush.
Maybe next time we can have a pillow founder on the show and
Yeah.
I can
Oh,
at
yeah.
least do something.
You-
yeah.
My
You
pillow.
can- yeah.
What's he up
The
to?
My Pillow guy.
Listen, honestly, I would love to have that guy because he's a character, but I
Yeah.
think I'd receive some backlash if we got the My Pillow guy.
I'd caution you.
But honestly, though, maybe.
Wait, what's wrong with the My Pillow guy?
Oh man, we don't have enough time.
We don't have enough time. But
Can we give a
honestly,
wink, wink, nudge, nudge? What's wrong with
But
him?
maybe My Pillow guy, open invite. But also, if the audience is mad about that, maybe not. But also, maybe like wink, wink, open invite.
What
right?
did he do?
Oh, he's done a lot of wild shit.
Like,
Yeah.
what? Name a thing.
He's just
Is he a perv?
No, he's not a perp. Well, actually, I don't know. Who knows?
I think there's some
Allegedly.
yeah. But you should get the pillow that has like the indent. I love that one. I can't remember. I think it's like Glow Pillow or something like that. And there's a nice big cutout so you don't get the face wrinkles.
But honestly, like, if you can, just sleep on your back.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
sorry, I know no one wants to hear this. Beauty's pain. I try to sleep on my back as much as possible.
Again, going back down to the pandemic, who would have thought like one of the biggest threats to the country was the pillow guy?
Yeah.
Right? Like, that also emerged during that time.
You
Okay,
know,
but-
you got to do some research on
How
it.
do you sleep on your back after having kids? Like, doesn't it hurt? For me, it's always, I don't know.
No.
I can feel the pressure. Oh. Well, you're lucky.
yeah, it doesn't hurt me sleeping on my back.
Why
Maybe
would
it's
Why
the
does it
mattress.
change?
I don't know. I just feel like your hips like maneuver. Logistically, I don't know what happens.
I'm
But
not perfect, but if I wake up and I'm on my side, you better bet your ass I'm turning to my back, because Lisa Rinna once said that she never gets a facial face down, or not a facial, a massage face down, because you're slamming your face in that massage thing. It's so bad for your skin.
that's so true.
And when she said that, I was like, oh my God. And then I'm sleeping on my side and squishing my face.
For sure.
Beauty's pain.
Yeah.
I think like it probably has nothing to do with childbirth because even if I sneeze wrong, my hips go out. So,
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that's just a.
Your sneeze, though, is like, whoa. Lately. It's like turned into like
my
a
sneeze
grandfather.
and my eyebrows changed overnight with children,
Yeah.
and then it honestly scares them. Like, oh my
I
god,
don't
I'm
think
turning
you're
into
gonna
my
get.
grandfather.
I don't think you're gonna get anyone on Hinge. I think that's a no for me, dog. All right, let's do a giveaway. Can we
Yeah,
do like
I
a
would love that.
full package of
Let's
your
do it.
favorites?
Yeah, I would love that.
Okay, so we're gonna do a full package of Michelle's favorites. All you have to do is follow
Face Foundrie.
on Instagram.
Yep.
And then tell us your favorite part of this episode on my latest post at Lauren Bostick. I thought this episode was so interesting because we have had the founder of Dry Bar on, but I've never gotten into it about how to franchise, what to do, what to look for. And I'm sure there's a lot of people listening that just need like a nudge in the right direction of where to start. Where can everyone find you?
You can find me at Michele Manifests on Instagram.
Love it. Do we have a code for the audience? Do you want to do a code?
I believe it's skinny.
Okay. Use code skinny. I would go run and get the overnight mask. I got a bunch of them in my little goodie bag. I cannot wait to try this.
And how many cities are you currently in?
We have 22 different locations.
wow.
We're in 13 states. And
Damn.
next year we'll be in about 22 states.
Awesome. So go get a facial.
Can't
Yeah.
wait.
I love it. The only facial I've had lately is from you, so that's perfect.
Okay.
Thank you,
Well,
Michelle, for coming on. You're amazing.
Thank you guys for having me.
Thank you.